Is your home not selling? Are you sitting on the market trying to figure out why you have very little showings, no offers on the table, and ultimately the traffic is just really stinking low? Well, today we're going to talk about 3 reasons as to why that could be the case. So, tip number 1 would be making sure that your pricing strategy and your price is correct. We're in a market right now where, unfortunately, over the past 4 years, we have had appreciation scales like we've never seen before. Right? Ultimately, the example that I like to give is, imagine if you're on a highway and the speed limit is 70. Well, over time, appreciation at an average of 4%, people are going, let's say 75. Well, in 2021, 22, and 23, we started to see people drive at an average of like 90 to 110, right? Absolutely increasing those prices. And so in the current market that we are in, what I always like to essentially tell my sellers is that, hey, if your property's priced, and let's use an example of, say, $400,000, right? And you're priced at $400,000. Well, 4.5 years ago, that was priced at, say, $250,000, right? And so you get an offer and accepted at $350,000, and you're saying, well, you know what, man, I'm just losing value, right? It plummeted, it went under asking. Well, no, you have to look at maybe a bigger picture. And the fact that your appreciation scale still over the course of those 3 to 4 years have produced so much appreciation dramatically over any other asset that you could have in terms of investments. So therefore, instead of going, let's say 100 miles an hour on the appreciation scale, you've dropped down to 80. You're still doing well, but what it comes to be is ultimately a pricing strategy where you're not chasing the market. Right? If the market right now is dictating that properties are selling anywhere between 2 to 3% below the current asking price, you're going to want to price your property ahead of the market, ahead of the curve, to be able to bring as many buyers to the table as possible, increasing your chance of getting, potentially multiple offers in our current market that we're in, but also getting the most amount of money for your property with the status that we're in, meaning that the inventory is higher than it typically is. Now, the big key point for number 2, this is very important, is your property's condition and accessibility. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, obviously, we're in a market right now where inventory tends to be higher. Okay, we're seeing that buyers have more options on the table. What does that mean for you? Well, it means for you that ultimately, if you want to bring the most amount of buyers to the table as possible, you have to give them the most amount of value, okay? So a property that needs a full repaint, full carpet, cabinets are completely outdated, likely is not going to get the most amount of traffic right away, because a buyer has an option to go right down the street, potentially get a fully updated property for either at or maybe just a little bit more than what you're asking for. And so you have to provide that value right up front. My suggestion is, if you have rooms that just the paint is absolutely horrible, take that investment and roll that into getting your property painted, carpets cleaned, and essentially making the home look as kept up as possible. So when a buyer comes to the table, they feel comfortable moving into this property that, hey, maybe one day they have to do some minor updates here and there, but your home is move-in ready without having to do any major repairs, full repaints, or stuff like that. So that would be one of the big things. And in regards to accessibility, we know right now that, especially this time frame in June and July, people are taking vacations, they're dealing with graduations, different moves, and situations like that. So making your home available for showings as much as possible is only going to benefit you in bringing offers to the table. We want to create a funnel, essentially, of bringing the most amount of buyers to the interest on online marketing, social media marketing, the full marketing strategy to bring as many people to the property, to therefore bring is the highest opportunity of you getting the most amount of offers on the table. Now, the third and final tip, this is very, very strategic, and that is your marketing strategy. In this current market that we're in, we all know that people are buying properties for 2 reasons. First is the photography and online presence, and the second is your pricing strategy. Obviously, there are a lot of people moving from different states, especially here to the Charlotte surrounding areas and the Carolinas. And so ultimately, their first look at your property is going to be online. And so making sure that your online presence, your marketing in regards to photography, flyers, email marketing campaigns, reverse marketing through the MLS. All of those things have to be very strategic and laid out to bring the most amount of eyeballs to your property. The next thing would be in regards to that marketing strategy is having a plan week over week over week as to how you're going to respond. If the first 2 to 3 weeks you have no offers, no showings, and the property is relatively dormant, you're going to need to discuss kind of what the plan is to drive those people to the table. Because we know there are 3 reasons why a property does not sell, and that's condition, location, and price. If it's not the condition of the property, well, then we have to assess location. If it's not the location or the condition, then it automatically comes down to price, and that is certainly something that we can discuss where we can position your home to bring the most amount of people to the table. And actually, a bonus tip would be in regards to staging. This would be very particular to your home, obviously, whether regards that you have furniture everywhere that we can work with to make the property look as best as possible, but also something that my team, myself, specialize in is virtual staging. If we have open, empty rooms that we have the opportunity to virtually stage, we will go ahead and do that so the online marketing presence shows what this room could potentially look like with the proper furniture in it, therefore bringing more attraction and desirability to the property itself. So obviously, if you have any questions or want to explore how we can get your property sold for the most amount of money, quickest amount of time, but also a proper marketing strategy to get your home sold, click the link down below. You'll have my phone number and email address, and you can reach us, have questions. My goal at the end of the day is to provide the necessary information to help you make the best decision possible for you and your family. Looking forward to chatting with you later. Have a good one.